Hey everyone, it's Chris and Lisa from Been There, Got Out. And if you don't know who we offer hope, guidance, and community to people suffering in or struggling to get out of relationships with narcissists and other toxic personality types so that you can find the strength you need to get your sanity back. And we're here on Facebook Live Q&A, which we do every Thursday at noon Eastern Time. If you're watching live, that's great. If you're watching on a recording, that's great too. We get tons of questions from our audience. We're very easy to reach. I always say that.
Yeah. And we'll say it again at the end.
Lisa's got a very strong presence and following on Instagram. You can post things here on our Facebook page. We're very easy to find. You can contact us through our website as well, beentheregotout.com.
Yes.
So
let's
dive right in.
Because like Chris said, we have this huge, hugely engaged community on Instagram. And recently we've been putting a question every time we do a Facebook Live. And the way the time works is the question's posted a few hours before we go on. And I am blown away by the number of responses we get. They start within minutes of putting the question up. So
yeah, and we were a lot. Right. We were just talking about this morning. Also, it's like, when we first started doing these, first we did them as answers to our workshops.
Right.
Questions that came up at our workshops.
Mm-hmm.
Then we just made it more general a couple months ago. And, we would answer the questions ourselves because this is our topic. We know a ton about this.
Right.
But what's even better is when we get responses, not just questions from the community, but responses as well. Because it's not just our experience and our knowledge, but it's your experiences as well. So it's like a whole world responding.
A whole host of different points of view and perspectives.
Okay. So thanks for all of your participation and feedback.
Yes. And keep engaging. I love it. Most of the responses are great, and a lot of them make me laugh.
Which is helpful in a subject matter that is far from funny.
Yes.
So anyway, our first question today, Lisa's going to answer first, so I'll read the first question. It's kind of a long one. My ex and I are communicating pleasantly, but the conversation is typically him making jokes about our marriage, like regretting meeting me, or saying things like, if you looked like that the night we met, it would have saved us all a lot of time wasted, etc. A lot of the time I just laugh along, but the comments make me sad and uncomfortable, and I'm not sure how to navigate this.
So I got this, and the first issue I had was with the word pleasantly. And I know some of our community members felt the same way about the word pleasant. So I was wondering first that the person that asked if your situation, like so many of the rest of ours, includes someone else labeling your emotions or labeling how you're supposed to feel about a certain experience. To me, this is insulting you in a passive aggressive way. And to me, that's in no way pleasant. So the examples that you gave are degrading. And that's it. There's nothing good about them. So like Chris mentioned earlier, we had many comments on this topic. I'm sure they're still coming in as we're doing this now, and they'll continue, from now to the future. So if you ever want to look at even more responses, you can check our Instagram feed. But the person who actually posted this original question that I think I got like a week or two ago came on today and said, yeah, what should I actually do about this as well? So I'll first get into some of the responses we got, and that will lead into answering what you should actually do and how to handle it. So first, let's talk about what this kind of behavior is. And I'm going to quote from many of our respondents. They said, it sounds like manipulation, which it clearly is. To me, it's almost like a type of hoovering to keep pulling you back into the relationship, which you said it's your ex, so you're out of. Another person said, nothing about these comments is acceptable behavior. Generally, the pleasant conversations are there just as a bait and switch tactic. You're being lured into a conversation with a toxic person so they can poison your mind about who you think you are. Think of that person as toxic waste. Would you allow something toxic around your physical health just because inside it's inside a pleasant container? I love
That's really
that.
cool.
I love that. Yeah, it's bad. It doesn't matter whether you call it pleasant. This person calls it pleasant. It's not. Another person said, don't enable ongoing abuse. He's trying to insidiously undermine your confidence in moving forward. So spot on, right? Because remember, in the relationship, this was going on just at a different level. And now that you're out, he's still doing it. It's continuing this abuse. So another issue that came up a lot in the responses that we thought about as well are boundaries. And one person said, you have to keep in mind, boundaries are more than just physical lines that are crossed. Another person said, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, stop communicating. That way his stupid joke makes him look stupid. They can't take that. And that's true. And personally, and we know this because you have your little thing on your refrigerator too, yeah. These people often disguise nastiness as humor, saying, I'm just kidding. Like, why are you being so sensitive? I don't see what you mentioned in the question as a joke at all. It's just viciousness disguised as humor. Who would even think comments like that are actually funny? They're just mean and they're designed to make you feel bad. And like the other person said, take away your confidence. In terms of boundaries, again, another person said that, remember, you're the one in charge of your own life and what you put up with. If you have children, then keep the conversation strictly about them. Otherwise, with scissor emojis, cut them off. And we'll get into that, that this leads us into some of the ways that you can handle situations like this. A couple of people shared their experiences with similar behavior. One person said, my response would be, had I known who you were, then I would have looked like this when we met and saved myself the trouble. Of course, say it in the same pleasant way. And with a smile and a laugh. Not necessarily recommending this as any and everything with these types is fraught with peril. So again, this is fun for us to laugh about. But, I don't know if you'd actually want to do that. But as you can see, we found that really funny. Another person said, this is so typical of them. Mine used to send me photos of women he claimed to be dating way after our divorce. Because I learned he had a sexual addiction, very common, and a love for strip clubs, I'd respond with, she's cute, how much did you pay? That's great. You guys are so clever. He disappeared for a while, but always showed back up with more shenanigans. You cannot be friends with them again. Notice, after she would make these comments, the person who just answered here, he'd stop for a while. And I just, as you can see, we just love her comment. Yeah.
Boy, when you can get to a place where you can laugh about it, that's such, you're almost there.
Right.
There.
Right. Because you can remove yourself from the situation instead of getting wrapped up in it and say, this is what it is. This is what it's designed to do. Another person said, and I love this too, there's no GPS for navigating such BS. Do not engage. And that's the perfect segue into leading what can you actually do. Right. So what do you actually do when you get these ridiculous, pleasant texts, which I'm sure he's labeling as, I'm just talking pleasantly with you. Okay, so this came up often, and this is what we would have said anyway. So no or low contact is best, and that you really need to limit these conversations, if not completely stop them. A person said, just stop taking in offensive jokes and stop laughing along with them, because that's not even dark humor or banter. It's emotional abuse that builds up little by little, and it's very insidious. I completely agree. That's exactly what it is. It's mind games. Another person reiterated, you cannot be friends with him. There's no getting along pleasantly. There's always a plan to hurt you. So self-protect, and bleep emoji face his passive aggressive comments. And they are passive aggressive. Okay. And then this came up several times, the term gray rock. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it. Some of you might not be. There's really no reason to put yourself in another abusive situation for his entertainment. And keep in mind, he is being entertained when you engage in this stuff. So I'm going to now put in a little plug for one of our workshops, which is specifically about gray rocking, and it's called the no contact and the gray rock method. So, you know, we do these Facebook Lives. We have this brand new legal abuse support group that meets live. But over the pandemic, we recorded a number of different workshops on subjects that our audience said was really important. And gray rocking is very important. It is the best technique to move forward and get away from a toxic relationship and start to heal. So we did a whole workshop on it. You can find it at learning.beentheregotout.com. Or you can just go to beentheregotout.com, and in the upper right-hand side, there's a little enroll now thing. And because they're pre-recorded, you can listen to these workshops at your own convenience. It's broken down into parts because we're always getting interrupted. And there's also some interactive journaling exercises, because those of you that don't know, I'm a writer. I've been journaling for like almost 40 years since I was a child. So in the workshop, I teach you how no contact and the gray rock method can help you protect your physical and emotional health, and how to take important steps to basically regain control of your life, how to emotionally detach. So another person said, I'm done with the plug. Another person said, an ex means no more in your life. So if you share custody, just be factual and very specific and say, like, for example, what time will you pick up the kids? No more talk.
You just made me think of something.
What?
When it said X,
Yeah.
most of us write X-E-X.
Yeah.
But how about picturing like a big red X,
That's good.
like over their picture?
That's
Like just
great.
X.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yep. Okay. And then lastly, and I'll give Chris finally a chance to talk. This deals with gray rocking. Show no emotion. Don't let him see that it bothers you. Don't even laugh along. Say what needs to be said. End the conversation. Remember, he's looking for a reaction. That's what these people thrive on. So not having one will drive him crazy.
Now, do you need to go get a drink of water?
I will take a drink of water. All right, your turn, Chris.
yeah,
Remember the question?
I think so.
Okay.
So, but yeah, going back to, and you touched on this, but going back to the examples of pleasant communications in the question, that's not pleasant at all.
No.
Not at all. And it made me think of like my mindset, you know, in the first, like, let's say year after my ex and I separated, and I was still sugarcoating things. I was saying that we got along well, and that she was a good mother,
Yeah.
right? I know you're going to roll your eyes at this one, right?
I can't help it. Yes.
So Lisa and I, if you don't know this, we met on Match.com, and it was about 8 months after my marriage ended in 2014. And I even said in my profile there on Match that my ex and I got along.
I know.
Right?
I had no idea.
And as we got to know each other, you questioned this view, right? You'd say, "What do you mean? She's horrible to you."
Yeah.
Right? So it makes me think of, you know, when we talk about the hurdles you need to get over when you confront the fact that you're in a toxic relationship. And they're right on our homepage at beentheregotout.com, right? Just scroll down. We show those hurdles, the big things you need to get past. One of those is something we call accepting that your partner is actually your adversary.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's so again, accepting that your partner is actually your adversary. This person is not your friend. They put on an act for however long to put on past tense. They did put on an act for however long to keep you under their thumb. And now that it's over, it's likely to get uglier and uglier. And, you know, the examples of things they're saying in the question, you know, the person who posed the question, are not things that someone who cares about you at all would ever say. That's not somebody who's looking for a good, healthy, peaceful relationship.
Right.
You know, there are, believe it or not, there's such a thing as a good, healthy divorce where the people get along. I mean, that's not our world, but
Yeah.
it exists, you know, and, you know, people after they get over being angry, they try to be at least courteous and cordial to each other because it's in everybody's best interest, especially if you have kids, right?
Well, if you have kids. And if you don't have kids, a lot of people just walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, unless you're in the same community or something. But
Yeah, or whatever.
I don't want to stray too far from the subject, but so like so many people struggle with this important shift of perspective of thinking of this person as your adversary, but it's critical to get there as quickly as you can. And Lisa already covered a lot of the specifics of like practical things you can do, so I'm not going to repeat those. But to put them to good use, you've got to accept how extreme your situation is.
Yeah. And if you're on our page, it was probably a toxic relationship.
Yeah, probably.
So it's probably not worth pursuing a friendship with that person.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Next question. I'm going to ask this one, and then Chris gets to go on for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Why did my narcissist ex trivialize our relationship when it ended?
Okay. So this made me think of one new friend, and you'll know who I'm talking about. We've met in the last month or two, a guy. And we just met him. He talked about how he was married for 27 years. And in therapy, toward the end of the relationship, his wife said she hadn't been that into it since he got into it. He got into an argument with his father 3 months into their marriage. Mm-hmm. And she had been like, not that into the marriage since then, 26 3/4 years. Right. And, I feel like I just talked about this recently, but it's a big part of my story. And shortly after I was discarded in 2014, I wrote this long, flowery letter to my ex, like declaring my love, forgiving her for her affairs, all this crap. And, it's embarrassing to think about now, actually.
You're blushing. He's blushing.
It's not makeup. So days after sending it, I got no reaction at all. She was loving it. She knew I was just twisting, right? And I asked her what she thought about it. And she said, well, she hadn't read it. She might make some time over an upcoming holiday weekend. Of course, she was trivializing the relationship. And it had the intended effect of like hurting me deeply at the time. So when it's really finally over, and while you're still devastated and heartbroken, they're still getting narcissistic fuel from you as much as they can. So you're still, another term, supply for as long as you're emotionally invested. And they won't join you in mourning the loss of a beautiful relationship. Instead, they'll enjoy your suffering. They love watching you twist in the wind. Right?
Yeah. I got to say something about that.
Okay.
Just quickly.
Go ahead.
No. Okay. No, go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, wrapping up.
They love watching you suffering. I got to remember that.
Okay. Learning that there was nothing to mourn, that the entire relationship was fake. That was huge in my own recovery. And I don't know or care what she thinks now. Like, I've become the one who trivializes the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just quick thing before I get to my response to this. But in terms of they love watching you suffer, I've mentioned this a long time ago in one of our videos, but my ex admitted that he enjoyed watching me cry.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yes,
I haven't talked about that in a long time. Yeah, he loved it. But that's for another day. But that just brought that back up. Anyway, so my response to this question, I looked at the question and then I reread it before we came on, and I thought of something a little bit different. Instead of just why would a narcissistic ex trivialize the relationship at the end, I thought, well, mine actually trivialized it before it ended. Mine did it while we were still married and throughout the marriage. So he trivialized it by asking me to move in when he knew he was still soliciting other women. He trivialized it throughout the entire marriage for nearly 18 years by soliciting other women the whole time and justifying his behavior, which I didn't know about till later. He trivialized it in comments that he would make to me throughout the marriage when I never thought that we were going to get a divorce. He'd say things like, if we ever break up, I'll just get another girlfriend. And that used to really hurt me because I felt like I was so replaceable.
You made me think of something now.
I'll let you go ahead.
Let me just interject because I'll lose.
I interrupt him all the time, so it's okay.
When we be in social situations, if the topic, I was her second marriage, and when she'd talk about her first marriage, she'd say, that was my first ex-husband, implying that I was one day going to be her second ex-husband.
You never told me that.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, she'd say that, well, my first ex-husband. Well, we were, still in the middle of the marriage, not even near the end. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that in a long time either.
No, he never told me that.
Sorry.
No, that's good. That's good. Yeah, so mine would say, if we break up, well, I'll just get another girlfriend. And like, who says that to someone they've been in a relationship with for 20 years? The mother of his children. He trivialized our relationship during his own deposition while I was trying to get divorced from him. That took forever. When he said on the record that we had an agreement that he could do whatever he wanted, because I should have known by looking at his own father's serial cheating that he would be the same way. So I was like, I remember my lawyer being like, what? No. So I think that people like this trivialize their relationships because they're incapable of actually caring for other people. We know that, except in what they can get from them. So you only mean something to them when you're providing them with unconditional love, attention, money, whatever else. So another thought I had, which I always repeat to people in this situation, is to remember that for people like this, image is everything. And so a divorce or breakup means that they themselves look like a failure, regardless of who initiated it. So to act like a relationship or a marriage, whatever, is meaningless in their eyes, it's like distracts from the fact, to other people that things didn't work out. And the other thing that I repeat all the time is, and said last night to people in our group, one of their biggest fears is abandonment. Again, it doesn't matter who's the one doing, breaking up and leaving the relationship. So on some level, any end of a relationship, a divorce, just a breakup even, taps into that fear. So they will do whatever they can to protect themselves from facing the loss. When we as healthy people experience grief and we work through it, they just, they push it away.
Yeah, and you made me think of something else.
Well, it's your turn.
Well, when and I know you remember this well, when my ex first left me, she didn't file for divorce.
Right.
She filed for custody.
Mm-hmm.
And that lingered for a while. I was getting some bad advice from an attorney at the time.
What a surprise.
Like when we met, you're like, you're not even filed for divorce? And I'm like, no, she's just suing me for custody. Like we were separated, but she just wanted the kids.
I know. I was like,
and I'm like, wait a minute. Like, we're not getting back together. Why, and I always wondered, like, why didn't she file for divorce? And this was probably, I'm sure there were legal reasons, other things, but it was probably she didn't want to face, to be a twice divorced person.
Right. Even though at those parties she was saying my first ex. Yeah. But when
how clever that was.
Yeah.
So, so those are the two questions for this week, but I wanted to go revisit one of the questions we have from last week that and I'll explain why I've been thinking about a lot. And that question was, what kind of people do narcissists instantly dislike? And so we discussed that one at length last week. So if you want to see the answers, just watch our April 29th.
Right. And
2021
there's lots of comments on that
Q&A.
same Instagram post. Yeah.
Yep. So April 29th. And if you're on Facebook, obviously now, or we post these to YouTube as well, wherever you're watching, you can see that video. I'm sure it's like next to it. But a lot of the responses boiled down to they can't stand people who can see through their nonsense, and especially who call them out on it. That's like boils down a whole bunch of responses.
Yeah, that exposure.
So when they play their games, when they tell their ridiculous lies and get slapped around for it, it shames them, right? It injures their self-esteem, which is really at the core of their emotional and psychological problems.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had several issues come up this week where my ex pulled a bunch of nonsense, and we still have limited contact because we have kids together. And I called her out on her lies and neglect this week, clearly, firmly, succinctly, and with no emotion. Right? There were several things, you know all about them.
I do.
So in the past, like this would have initiated some attempt on her part to engage and create drama. It would be this whole, well, I know I did this, back and forth, hoping to like suck me in. And I think on some level she knows better now, and she knows I'm not going to engage, and she might even realize that her nonsense is indefensible. I'm not sure to what degree, but she knows like I've got her, you know,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
And there's nothing for her to gain from engaging on it. So yeah, she responded, but the responses were just to say, LOL.
I
Right?
know. I know. It's like,
Like 3 or 4 things.
yeah. Yeah.
Right? LOL. You know, as if it's funny to be caught in a lie or to be called out neglecting the kids.
Right.
Right. But that was all she could think of.
Let's have the last word.
Yeah. LOL. Like, that's funny. But I mean, all I can think of is she had nothing left in her arsenal.
Right.
You know?
Right. Exposure. You can't just be silent, right?
Right. And this made me think about, you know, when we talk about people that narcissists instantly dislike, your goal when getting out of your own toxic relationship is to become that kind of person.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to be one that they instantly, or they just dislike.
Yeah. You're the type.
You want to keep
they
them
don't
away.
You want them to not want to have anything to do with you.
Yeah. I just, yeah, you want them to just go away.
Yep.
That's it.
And that's a good way to do it.
Yeah. So that's it.
That's it. So I wanted to get back to that one because it was so much on my mind this week.
I
because
know.
of everything that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. He had some good stuff.
So
Yes.
you want to wrap up?
Okay, so thank you for coming. Again, you know, we love getting your questions and issues and situations, and you know how to get in touch with us. Again, we said we repeat it. You can write to either of us at lisa@beenthere.out.com, chris@beenthere.out.com, on our Instagram feed, Facebook, what else?
Our Facebook page.
and however else you find us.
if you can't find us, then I don't know.
Yeah,
you
we
just
can-
try a little
You
harder.
can Google "Been There, Got Out" and you'll
Yeah.
find us. Yeah.
All right.
So thanks again, and we will see you next week.